Today, I'm going to take you on a journey through the life of Jose, a man who walked the winding paths of numerous neighborhoods, navigating the twists and turns of life's alleys. As we follow in his footsteps, it's crucial to stay alert and not get sidetracked. You see, sometimes the road that seems productive and pleasant may actually lead you away from your divine purpose. I've come to realize that the sharper the adversity in someone's life, the greater their potential for purpose. Those who have faced hardships, scarcity, diversity, suffering, persecution, or abandonment often go the farthest if they break through. It seems that from the moment of birth, if we consider the biblical assertion that God knew us even from our mother's womb, our destiny is intertwined with overcoming challenges. Let me share a personal story. My father was 35 when he impregnated my mother, who was only 14 at the time. This was 52 years ago, and I'm now approaching 53. Back then, my mother had just arrived from Paraíba, having traveled through Teresina to reach Rio. My father, already married with 2 children, had not intended to impregnate her. The news of my impending arrival wasn't well received by either of them. My mother, a teenager, didn't want to be pregnant, and my father didn't want another child. Yet, here I am, born into this context, much to their dismay. You might laugh, but it's true. They considered abortion. It's a decision made by those already born, and I stand against it. I once debated someone who supported abortion, and I told him I wished his mother had shared his views. It would have spared me the argument. They tried to abort me, according to gossip, but it didn't work. I was already clinging on inside, determined to be born. You see, no human plan can match the divine. Before any man thought of you, God had already decided your place in this world. I was abandoned, left to fend for myself, a lone wolf, if you will. But if your saliva isn't healing, stop licking your wounds. Take a deep breath and move on to the next phase of life. For God has a purpose for you. Let's quickly visit Genesis 45 verse 5. Now do not be distressed or angry with yourselves because you sold me here. For God sent me before you to preserve life. Joseph's birth was a challenge. His mother was barren. The great men of the Bible, especially in the early days, were often born of barren women. Think of Isaac, Samuel, Samson. Many faced difficult beginnings. Remember this, your struggles signify a greater purpose. If you had realized this sooner, you'd be much further along. But it's never too late. Joseph's entry into this world was a challenge. His mother went through so much for him to be born. Once he arrived, he didn't have an easy time. He grew up among tough company. His brothers weren't the easiest to deal with. Their behavior could have easily distracted Joseph, leading him to adopt their ways, habits, and thoughts. Life often pairs you with people who shouldn't be part of your story. That's why I say some people are meant for your schedule, and others for your destiny. Don't confuse the two. One woman shared her story with me. She married someone who was just a schedule filler, and now she's asking, "What do I do?" It's sad, but you must ask these questions before making life-altering decisions, not after. The first distraction for Joseph was the improper behavior of his brothers. Why? Because not just his brothers, but life itself, the enemy, knows how to distract us. The Old Testament doesn't give much credit to Satan. It hardly mentions him. When it speaks of an evil spirit from the Lord troubling Saul, what does that mean? God doesn't have evil spirits. But back then, if something bad happened, it was attributed to God. So let's look at Joseph's story. The goal was to distract him, but it didn't work. Joseph was focused. He had dreams and more than that, a commitment. His posture ensured his dreams would come true. His brothers were jealous because he dreamed, and because his demeanor was different from theirs. Many times, life will take you to places where you'll be tempted to forget who you are. Remember Daniel and his friends in Babylon? They changed their names so they would forget their identity. Don't be deceived like that. Joseph maintained his behavior to achieve his purpose, and because of that, he faced retaliation. He was hated by those around him, but he never accused anyone. Remember, when you act correctly in a corrupt environment, your very presence is an accusation. You don't need to say a word. Your integrity speaks for itself. So, let's continue with this story, keeping in mind that our actions and attitudes can lead us to fulfill our destiny, just like Joseph.